About carbon dating a little bit. I don't know if you covered that.
Oh yeah, sure, that's a great one. Carbon
It,
dating.
it seems like, I mean, the logic for it is that it falls within, you know, the laws, right?
Yeah,
And then
I love-
meanwhile, you know, old Earth, new Earth.
Right, love to talk about carbon dating. That's always a great question. So
What I,
here,
what I would say though, for your question with the Big Bang versus creation is that Big Bang is used as a starting point of things. So instead of saying, yeah, Big Bang, God spoke and bang, this happened like Perry said, you could say that, you know, yes, they have their Big Bang theory as the start of creation. You relate it as a starting point. Instead of Big Bang, God spoke. And that
yeah,
was the
I
starting
don't think,
point.
I think it was an attempt to explain everything without God, basically.
Right.
It's a big bang. But it just goes counter to everything. Sort of a big explosion isn't creative.
There'd
You
be
know,
chunks instead of spheres.
all the understanding of the universe, laws of physics, you know, say that more energy, bigger explosion, you know, destroys the information. I don't see how any information could be in the universe if it was that incredible explosion. It would destroy every information that's there. And so you still have all the problems all the way on. It just doesn't make any sense. So here's about carbon dating. Carbon dating. Here's how a quick explanation. Is that all right? Should I go? I'll go into that. I guess I'll go into the flood a little later, right? The flood's pretty interesting too. But here's carbon dating. And some things in the Bible, how they are actually being found to be more scientifically accurate. I can go into that a little bit later too. But carbon-14, the man who invented carbon-14 found out that in the upper atmosphere, nitrogen is being converted by cosmic rays into carbon-14. Now carbon has an atomic weight of 12. Nitrogen has a atomic weight of 14. So what you have to do is have to convert 2 protons in the nitrogen into neutrons. So now you have 12 protons in the carbon atom, and you have 2 neutrons. So carbon molecular weight 14. So you have this carbon-14 in the upper atmosphere, nitrogen, which is 14, becoming carbon-14 in the upper atmosphere. There's a rate that's happening, and then this carbon-14 naturally decays over time. So carbon-14 loses 2 neutrons and goes to carbon-12, the normal state. Now this half-life is 3760, something like 3,760 years, okay? So if you have 100 carbon-14 atoms in 3,760 years, if you don't add any more to subtract, you're going to have 50 after 3,760 years. So it's a pretty fast decay rate for carbon-14. The guy invented it said it's probably not really good for better than 4,000 or 5,000 years or something. You know, because the carbon-14 level is actually pretty small, and measuring it, and you probably can't really trust it for that. But so it can't be used for long days. But here's what happens. Okay, this carbon-14, here's how it works. This carbon-14 is taken in by plants, right? They take it in, use it for photosynthesis, they make the plant material, and it becomes the same amount of carbon-14, 0.0000001%, whatever carbon-14 per carbon-12 is in the plant. And then the animals come by, you know, I don't know, let's make an animal, right?
Don't bother.
Chomps on the plant, right? Eats the plant, ingests the plant, so it keeps eating the plant and eliminating, and it becomes an equilibrium with the plant, which is in equilibrium with the atmosphere. So the carbon-14 levels are all the same in all the living organisms. Now, when an animal dies,
Terrible information on the board, Perry. That animal.
whatever, let's say here's an animal, it dies. What happened? It's no longer eating plants, it's no longer taking in carbon-14, it's no longer in equilibrium, and it just sits there. So what happens is now the carbon-14
It's in the vulture.
decays to carbon-12 in it. So after 3,760 years, there's going to be half the carbon-14 in the animal. That's how the method works, dating, okay? Now here's an interesting thing. The guy who invented it says it's not good for you know, more than 4,000 years. But here's the interesting thing about carbon-14 dating. How do they know, how do they calibrate the dating system to know, okay, we can validate it, it actually works well? They took an Egyptian mummy, Egyptian king, they knew his name, I forget his name right now, you can look it up on Wikipedia, and they dated part of his material, and they knew how old he was, you know, when he lived, and they checked it against the carbon-14 and they calibrated it to that. So this is like 1,000 BC. So they calibrated about 3,000 years. Okay, here's how we calibrate the system, knowing it works. Now, how did the Egyptian mummy, how did they know he was at like 1,000 BC or so? Because they dated that Egyptian to the dates in the Bible. Because guess what? The Bible is the gold standard of archaeology. The Egyptian history is spotty at best. If you want to look at some things on this, look at this movie called, I put it on my website, a reference to it, Patterns of Evidence on the Exodus and stuff. He talks all about this, but the Egyptian experts, you know, there's only certain relics that you find of certain, and there's